Doctor Who is often so fast-paced that it pays to take a breather every now and then. Anyway, shall we check out some of the most freeze-framed and scrutinised moments in the history of the show? I'm Ellie for Who Culture here with the 10 most paused Doctor Who moments. Number 10. Wait, was that Rose? The Poison Sky and Midnight. In a neat callback to her first series, appearances by the Bad Wolf herself were seeded throughout Russell T Davies' fourth series in charge of Doctor Who. There were the obvious ones, appearing to Donna in Partners in Crime and then having a starring role in Turn Left, but much more pause-worthy were the less obvious ones. In The Poison Sky, Donna is trapped inside the TARDIS and receives guidance from the 10th Doctor on how to reopen the Sontaran's teleport link. A little bit before this, a muted image of Rose flashes up so briefly on the TARDIS monitor, shouting for the Doctor. Now, interestingly, this Blink and You'll Miss It cameo was a late addition to the episode. It was originally filmed for Midnight, but was reused for The Poison Sky when Russell T Davies realised how successful Billie Piper's top secret cameo had been at the end of Partners in Crime. And of course, Rose can be glimpsed in Midnight on a shuttle monitor for a split second while the power is down following an attack by the Entity. However, because he and the rest of his fellow passengers are too busy stressing about their situation, the 10th Doctor doesn't see her. If only he had a pause button himself. Although honestly, that does seem like something the sonic screwdriver would be able to do at this point, doesn't it? These cameos set fans into a frenzy back in the day and were discussed and analysed to death in the build-up to Series 4's huge blockbuster finale. Number 9. Matt Smith bears all? The Lodger. The Mandela effect describes a shared false memory and was coined by historical and paranormal researcher Fiona Broome, who, along with many others, incorrectly remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. One rather unexpected example of the Mandela effect in Doctor Who came in the days following the broadcast of The Lodger in 2010. A handful of viewers genuinely believed that Matt Smith was naked in the scene where the 11th Doctor drops his towel after rushing to get out of the shower. Now yes, I know it's not really what it looks like, but we can't show the image uncensored here on YouTube because, well, obvious reasons. So please enjoy whatever our lovely editor has done here right now to cover it up. I hope it's good. Fans were encouraged to pause the scene in the hopes of catching a glimpse of Smith's let's say his sonic screwdriver. And the story got so big that it even started making news headlines. Matt Smith, of course, was not nude in the scene, but a BBC spokesperson and the actor himself still came out to deny the story. Smith told the press that he was wearing, quote, flesh-coloured trunks, and that fans definitely didn't see more. He also said that nudity on a Saturday tea time wouldn't be proper, which is about the most British response you could possibly get. So there we have it. Fans were simply experiencing a false memory. Almost like there was something in the corner of their eye. Number 8. The Memory Tardis, Empire of Death. By its very nature, the Memory Tardis is crammed full of references to Doctor Who's past. Lovingly designed for both Tales of the TARDIS and the Season 1 finale, the whole point is that it's a TARDIS made of memories. I mean, the clue is literally in the name. While there are some clearly visible props and costumes, like the ones used to comfort Mel, hello the 7th Doctor's question mark pullover and the 6th Doctor's coat and necktie, along with the various familiar roundels adorning the walls, there are also tons of others that are easy to miss. And you can take it from me because I had to put together an entire 22-minute video of the Easter eggs just in the Memory Tardis because there were so many of them. And there's still likely a few that I missed and are tucked away in corners. And to find those 80+ Easter eggs, you guessed it, there was a lot of pausing required. And fans across the world would have no doubt been doing the exact same thing that I was. Sneaky Memory Tardis props that you only notice when pausing and scrutinising would include K9's decapitated head, bit grim, but okay. The box, which may or may not still contain Dorian Maldovar's decapitated head. I'm seeing a bit of a theme here. And a copy of Verity Newman's A Journal of Impossible Things. I mean, that's slightly nicer, I suppose. Number 7. Daleks in London, The Dalek Invasion of Earth. Sometimes Doctor Who moments get paused not because they've got hidden Easter eggs or plot clues. Sometimes they get paused just because they're cool as hell. Who can forget the Cybermen stomping down the stairs outside St. Paul's Cathedral in The Invasion? But most iconic of all are the images of the Daleks patrolling various London landmarks in the Dalek invasion of Earth. These famous scenes in real-world tourist locations add an extra dimension to any Doctor Who fan's trip to London. We've seen Daleks in Trafalgar Square, and Daleks at the Albert Memorial. It's Daleks on Westminster Bridge that has to be the most iconic image though, and fans visiting the area who are wanting to recreate it can now pull it up on their phone and line everyone up for an Instagram photo. Not only has this image been scrutinised by fans over the years to drink in the iconic imagery or pinpoint exact Dalek positions, it's been paused in time via posters, postcards, and attempts to recreate it, most notably by Mark Gatiss' An Adventure in Space and Time in 2013. Truly one of Doctor Who's most iconic images. Number 6. The Matrix Montage, The Timeless Children. In The Timeless Children, the Master bombarded the 13th Doctor with brand new information about her origins and the dark secrets from both her childhood and her service in the Division. So it was only fair that the Doctor did a bit of backstory bombardment of her own in the episode's climax. To break out of the Matrix on Gallifrey, the Doctor overloads it with the memories of her countless lifetimes and the many monsters and friends that the Time Lord has fought or allied themselves with. It's an absolute deluge of Doctor Who clips that is really hard to keep track of in one sitting, necessitating some after-the-fact freeze-framing to identify them all. Obviously, we've got all the incarnations of the Doctor, but then there's an Ood, love an Ood, Sarah Jane Smith, and some more unexpected and niche ones like a Vok robot from the Robots of Death, the Absorbaloff, and a glimpse of the Eric Roberts Master appearing on TV for the very first time since 1996. And that's just scratching the surface. It's always fun to pick out all the random characters and villains that appear in these things, especially when the footage in question has been pulled from a scene that you remember vividly. Number 5. Who's inside the spacesuit? The Impossible Astronaut. Deep down, we all knew that the Doctor would get out of being gunned down on the shores of Lake Silencio in the Series 6 opener. The bigger question was who pulled the trigger? Who was inside the Impossible Astronaut spacesuit? Though the rather heavy-handed hints of River Song having killed the best man I've ever known in Series 5 could have ironically been considered a spoiler, nothing was 100% certain at the time. Fans thought they might have been able to spot a very big clue early on, however, when we see the astronaut lift its visor at the 6-minute 49 mark to reveal what? Alex Kingston's chin? A stunt double? Frobisher? Though Stephen Moffat obviously wouldn't have allowed the mystery killer to be identified like this, fans nonetheless wore out their iPlayer pause buttons trying to see if they could spot anything in those 1 or 2 frames where the visor was lifted. Alas, upon closer inspection, it appears to be just another visor reflecting the Doctor and the rest of Lake Silencio behind him. But I guess points for effort. Series 6 was such a crazy fun time for speculation and theorising that you can't blame fans for latching onto any potential clues. But in the end, we had to wait 6 long months to learn who was inside the suit. Although, if we're being honest with ourselves, it was always going to be River Song, right? Number 4. The Mystery Faces, The Brain of Morbius. The battle of wills between the 4th Doctor and Morbius, no, not that one, back in 1976 cast a long shadow over Doctor Who history. For decades, fans went back and forth about whether the 8 mystery faces that appear during this scene were previous incarnations of the Doctor or fellow Time Lord Morbius, or were merely some trick deployed by the Doctor to win the battle. If they were the Doctor, did that mean the 1st Doctor wasn't actually the 1st? This has been one of the most hotly debated scenes in Doctor Who ever since it aired, and despite answers having now been provided, you'll still find some fans questioning the nature of what have since been dubbed the Morbius Doctors. One fan who was pausing the scene and taking notes in the subsequent years was Chris Chibnall, and 44 years after The Brain of Morbius aired, he canonised these 8 incarnations in The Timeless Children by revealing that they were indeed from the Doctor's past. As Chibnall recently told Doctor Who magazine, the Timeless Child arc was driven by a desire to make sense of the Doctor's inconsistent past, and canonising figures like classic series producer Philip Hinchcliffe, who played one of the Morbius Doctors, was merely a nice grace note. Number 3. Did those angels just blink? Director Hetty MacDonald pulls off something quite remarkable in Blink that had fans reaching for their pause buttons. Early in the episode, just after Kathy Nightingale is sent back to 1920, Sally Sparrow finds the TARDIS key dangling from the hand of a weeping angel. As she crouches down to retrieve the key, the angels have uncovered their eyes, preparing to pounce. But since we, the audience, can freeze them in place ourselves, they don't move a muscle. And then, as Sally stands up, she blocks the angels from view and passes by them, and when they're visible again, their hands are back to covering their eyes. It's an impressively fluid sequence, one shot where timing is absolutely everything. If one of the angel actors puts their hands up too late, then the spooky moment is absolutely ruined. It's such a swift and subtle change that viewers may not have even noticed the shift in movement. Cue frantic rewinding to confirm those suspicions that yes, the angels did move in camera. Or if you're a proper film nerd, frantic pausing to confirm whether this was actually done in one take, or if Sally's coat acted as an editing bridge to line up both shots. Either way, it's an incredibly chilling directorial flourish that should be applauded. Number 2, a glimpse of the entity, Midnight. The whole point of Midnight is that we can't see the entity's physical form. It's an insidious force that inhabits Sky's body and turns everyone against each other. Midnight is terrifying because it's an unseen threat, not a tangible rubber monster. Still, that hasn't stopped fans from scrutinizing the episode for hints as to what the creature could possibly look like. There are YouTube videos and Reddit posts where people have paused and slowed down the moment where trainee mechanic Claude catches sight of something in the distance on the planet's surface, just as the shuttle's protective shielding is coming back down. And to the credit of these people, a shadow does genuinely appear to move across the screen, shuffling between the diamonds. But is this really the entity? Isn't it just a trick of the light, a quirk of this particular special effect, or Claude's reflection in the glass? There's nothing to suggest that the visual effects team designed an entity, or at least an abstract shape, to place into the landscape. And you can't imagine Russell T Davies asking them to do that either. It's actually quite appropriate that fans are still pausing and scrutinizing this scene today, as that type of paranoia and urgent need to identify a threat is exactly what Midnight is all about. Number 1, Attack Eyebrows, The Day of the Doctor. 50th anniversary special The Day of the Doctor is stuffed with memorable moments, from the back catalogue of Doctors posing on a cloud to the 10th and 11th Doctors meeting for the very first time. Peter Capaldi's surprise debut was also something to be savoured, which is one reason why it's such a frequently paused moment. However, there was another big reason that fans were so keen to analyse these few frames to within an inch of their lives. They wanted clues about the then incoming 12th Doctor. Was it possible to work out what his new costume was? Is the lighting in the TARDIS different? Is it a new TARDIS? Of course, the production team deliberately framed the shot so you couldn't really work out any of those details. That's partly because the 12th Doctor's costume hadn't yet been decided, and so Peter Capaldi wasn't really wearing anything of note. His quick cameo was the last thing shot for The Day of the Doctor, having been filmed on the set of the following episode, The Time of the Doctor, where he would make his first proper appearance. So no matter how many times fans paused the image of Capaldi's intense eyebrows, they'd struggle to extract any workable information about the upcoming 12th Doctor era. Although to be fair, intense eyebrow acting does sum up a good chunk of Capaldi's scenes, and they're all the better for it. And that concludes our list, but while we're on the topic of The Day of the Doctor, why not check out our brand new retro ups and downs, starting with The Day of the Doctor. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.